voice on, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when you're good to go, mate.
Good to go.
All right, guys. So we're going to be talking today about your radio license that you're going to be doing. The radio is called the Short Range Operator's Certificate of Proficiency. It's the VHF radio license. It's the license you need if you want a VHF, and you need to get an MMSI number, which is a Mobile Maritime Safety Information Number. Okay? You need this number when you first buy your radio and you go to get your radio registered. So VHF radio allows you to get that number. There's a hint in its name. These first two letters, short range. VHF radios are short range communication devices. We talked a little bit yesterday about what determines the range of VHFs. Anyone remember?
Antennas. Height of the antenna.
The combined height of the antennas. So, like we talked about yesterday, if we've got a couple of small dinghies that have got handheld radios, the range is going to be very small. If we've got a couple of yachts with big tall masts and antennas on top of their masts, the range is going to be greater. Give you an idea, yachts talking to each other might get about 30 nautical miles distance. We also have things called repeater stations. Now a repeater station, the way I like to think of that is, here we are at the Abrolhos Islands, there's 30 to 50 miles of ocean to the land, and here's Geraldton and here's Sea Rescue at Geraldton. But right up on top of this mountain, they've got a great big tower. Really high antenna, much further range. And so we're able to talk to 60 miles from the Abrolhos Islands, 60 nautical miles, 120 kilometres on VHF radio because of the height of the antenna at the repeater station. Okay, you've got an image in front of you there of a radio. We just pull that image up, and Trads is going to put it up on the whiteboard here, Dave, if you want to fling across and have a look at that. So this is a typical VHF radio, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to go through what the buttons do on the radio. So as we're talking further, we'll know a little bit about what we're talking about. So up there on the screen, you can see our radio. So let's sort of start nice and simply. To turn the radio on, very tricky, we simply turn the power switch, like any device. Increase the volume, we keep turning, louder, softer. There's a button below it called squelch. Does anybody know what squelch does on a radio?
Makes it buzz.
Changes the frequency.
No, what squelch does is it removes background noise. So if you turn your VHF radio on, it's probably going to be going. You can turn the squelch button up until that noise just disappears. So you don't have to listen to that all day. There's a danger though. If you go too far on your squelch button, you are going to be cutting out signals that may be coming from a long way away and they're quite weak. You can actually cut them out by turning the squelch up too high. So you may actually find sometimes if you're getting intermittent, really poor reception coming through, you can hear bits of it, you may have to turn your squelch button down to hear the full radio call. All right, next one. I can see across here we've got a big round button that we can turn, which adjusts the channels, the different channels that we have on a VHF radio, and we'll learn what they are in a bit. We've got a red button underneath the big button there that says 16-9. This is what we call a dual watch button. Dual watch allows us to monitor channel 16. So channel 16 on our VHF radio is our emergency and calling frequency. Every single boat out there at sea has their radio turned to channel 16. All of us. Rule 5, keeping a good lookout. We're all on channel 16. If I wanted to call Wayne, I'd call him on 16 because that's where he is. But I won't be chatting to him on 16 because I'm going to be blocking out everyone else's radio call. Channel 16 operates on what we call a simplex channel. In other words, we send and receive on a single frequency. The moment you push the transmit button on the side of the microphone, you're blocking out everybody else for the range of your radio. So I will call on 16, but I'm going to move off to another frequency, a working frequency, to have my chat. But when I'm out traveling around, I might be with my local fishing club or my local sailing group or something, I'm able to monitor 16 and a frequency of my choice. So I might go in there and I might select channel 72, a working frequency, and then I'm going to push the dual watch button, and I'm going to be monitoring both of those channels. It's going to flip between them. So if the fishing club calls me on 72, bam, I'm going to hear them. If there's an emergency on 16, I'm still going to hear that. So I'm fulfilling my role of maintaining a listening watch on 16, as well as being able to listen to the group I'm with. We come across to scan. Scan's pretty simple. It's just like your car radio. You're trying to send out a message, haven't had any luck, hit the scan button. It'll go through all the channels, and if there's somebody there chatting on it, it'll stop and pick them up, just like a new car radio. The next one, high-low, HL. If we go across a couple more buttons, HL, high and low. High power, low power. High power transmits at 25 watts. Low power transmits at 1 watt. It makes no difference to the reception of the radio, only to how much it projects. It's a whisper or a shout. If I'm anchored right next to Dave on his boat and we want to get together for a little lemon squash in the afternoon, I'm going to call Dave on low power. I don't need to tell everybody within the 30-mile radius that we're having lemon squashes on Dave's boat and block out any potential emergency call coming through. So I select low power. If I want to get my safety message out there, I want to yell it out there, I select high power. And now the big important one, the big red button. It's got distress written on it. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a flip-up little lid. You flip the button, the lid up, and there's a little red button underneath there that you push and hold. So you flip the cover, little red button under there. You push and hold the red button. It sends out a 2-tone audible alarm, and it goes over every single radio within radio range of you, automatically. It projects it on channel 70. It's called digital selective calling. The best way to think of digital selective calling is to think like the old-fashioned pages. When you used to page someone, Anton Mann, phone call, and you'd send the pager would blip, and Anton would move to pick up the phone call somewhere else. Think of DSC like that. It sends out a 2-tone audible alarm to every radio within distance. It's saying to you, someone's in trouble. Get down next to your radio with your biro, ready to write down the voice spoken transmission that's going to follow the 2-tone alarm. The DCS alarm also sends out your MMSI number. And if your radio is linked to your GPS or contains the GPS, it will also send out your position, which is really great. MMSI numbers don't mean much to other boaters, but if it does get to the voluntary sea rescue organisations or a rescue coordination centre, they can tap that into their computer and they can find out what boat it is that's in trouble. But mostly for us as fellow boaters, we think of it as a paging system. Someone's in trouble, someone's going to send out a call, let's be there to write it all down. If you don't write it down, you're not going to remember it. Okay. There is another button that's not showing up on our little radio there, but there is another button. Sometimes it will have international written on it, INT-USA. This may come as a surprise, but the Americans have their own system. Everyone else in the world has one, and America has their own little special one. They have slightly different channels. So if you're boating in America, you need to push the USA button to be able to hear their radios. It can lead to drama if we, the rest of the world, push the USA button. You're not going to be able to talk to your friends in Australia because there's going to be different frequencies. So just be aware of that. If your radio doesn't seem to be working, just check that button's not on. Is there one up there, Bads?
I can find a quick one for you there. No good. Stand by.
Okay. Okay, using the microphone on your radio. Microphone's got a push to talk button on the side. You don't put it in front of your mouth like this because it stays and you can't hear anything that people say. Right? You hold it to the side of your mouth, push the button to talk. Got to remember to let the button go or you won't hear the response coming back. Okay. There is quite a funny thing out there. It's called Secrecy of Communication Act. If you hear anything over the radio that wasn't intended for you, it's actually secret. You're not allowed to tell anybody else. Okay? Even though everyone within 30 nautical miles has heard it, you're not allowed to tell anyone. Secrecy. Secrecy Act doesn't apply to distress or urgent situations, only to boat-to-boat stuff. Okay.
Here's a quick image of it, in case.
Oh, fabulous, thank you.
That particular radio, United States International is even in Canada mode. If you dual press those two buttons at the same time, you take it out of international mode, you'll be in US mode, your radio will not contact someone else. It is a common mistake. Every radio has a different button to press to activate that. Read the manual.
Well done, read the manual, that's the take-home message. Okay, we want to talk a little bit about different sorts of stations. So they call us a station. We can have a coast station. There's one in every state, and they monitor radio transmissions 24 hours a day. And then there's limited coast stations, which are like our sea rescue groups, potentially our local yacht club, our fishing club. They are limited coast stations. Now, a limited coast station is primarily responsible for safety and movement of vessels in their immediate area. They're not controlled by government. They set their own hours. Most sea rescue groups might go from 6 to 6. They set their own hours. It's not controlled. So that's what we call a limited coast station. And then we, at sea, in our boats, are called ships stations. Okay? They're the main three. A ship station will be called after the name of the vessel or its MMSI number. You don't get a call sign for VHF radios. We're under a class license. We're not under an individual license. So the set itself does not need to be licensed, but you, the operator, that's why you're listening to me, need to be licensed. Okay, let's learn some channels. We've got one up there. Channel 16, emergency and calling. I'm trying to send a mayday call. I'm trying to send my call. No one's responding. I've tried and tried and tried. I can't get it out there. I can then try to send it on the alternate emergency, which is channel 16. But no one's listening. But you can try. The coast stations would listen, I imagine.
6, 7 and 16.
Yep. All right, some other channels that are important to us. We've talked about channel 70, which was our digital selective calling, DSC. That's the big red button on the front of the radio. No talking, no voice spoken talking, voice speaking on channel 70. It's reserved purely for the digital selective calling automated system. No voice transmissions on it, no talking. Channel 6 is reserved for us to talk to aircraft. So if the plane comes over the top, and it looks like a shark, not a plane. If the plane comes over the top, waggles its wings at you, to say I wish to communicate with you, you're going to get to that person on channel 6 VHF. Ports, I want to enter Port Hedland, it's really busy, I want to take my sailboat into Port Hedland. I'm going to ask permission to do so from the Port Authority, and I'm going to find them on channel 13. Then I've got a whole bunch of what we call working frequencies, or chat channels. Things like 72, 69, 73. There's a whole bunch of them that we can use if we just wish to talk between two boats. We call on 16, we say the name of the station we're calling 3 times. So, Osprey, 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 this is Sea Trek, Sea Trek, Sea Trek. Over. Why do I say their name 3 times?
So they can clearly hear it.
Perfect, Lockie. Believe it or not, they're not actually sitting by their radio waiting for your call. They're doing something else. So you want to let them know that you're trying to get them. So you say their name 3 times, you say your own name 3 times. I then finish with the spoken word over. What's that mean?
conversation.
I've finished talking. Over to you. Your turn. What about the spoken word out? What does that mean?
Conversation's done.
End of the conversation. How about those movies? Over and out. I finished talking. Over to you. But the conversation's finished. I'm not listening anyway. They don't go together. It's one or the other. Over or out. Righto. Let's have a talk about how to send an emergency call. Can we have that up on the screen, Dave? Firstly, we're going to talk about the priority of calling. We have 4 different levels of priority. If I start at the bottom, we call it a routine call. I just want to call up my local sea rescue, or I want to call up my buddy who's out there fishing and see how he's going, or organise my drink with Dave, whatever. It's a routine call. I simply address it directly to one station only. Osprey, Osprey, Osprey. This is SROCP, SROCP, SROCP. Over. The person that I'm calling is now in charge of the conversation. They run the rest of the show. Osprey, this is SROCP, this is Osprey. Let's go to channel 73, and they will move us from 16 over to a chat channel or a working frequency where we're now able to talk without upsetting anybody or blocking any emergency calls that might come through and so on. We call on 16, we say their name 3 times, we use the spoken word over, we then move. Once we're on that channel together, I don't need to say their name 3 times. They're actually holding onto the radio at the other end. I can use their name 1. But there is a requirement for me to identify myself every time I call them. Okay? Osprey, this is SROCP, over. SROCP, this is Osprey, over, and so on. Right, the next level up is anything at all to do with safety. Any call at all in relation to the safety of the vessel, and we use the spoken word security. Safety might include weather forecasts, a navigational warning. Security, security, security. Hello all ships, this is Osprey. I've spotted a floating sea container off 3 miles northwest of Cape Naturalist, or something like that, something to do with safety. Stand by for the latest weather forecast. The next step up, the priority list. This one gets priority of the ones beneath it, is an urgent call. I'm in an urgent situation. It's not life-threatening. It might become life-threatening, but currently it's not life-threatening. But it's urgent. I've got a hole in my boat. It's sinking. My motor's broken down. I'm being swept towards the reef 2 miles away. My anchor's dragging. Urgent situation. And I use the spoken word and. Yep. And the last one, a distress situation. And a distress situation is defined as something that is grave and imminent. You go into the grave, it's happening now. Grave and imminent. Life-threatening situation. And what's the word?
Mayday.
We all know this one, Mayday.
And we do this all on channel 16?
All on 16 to start with. Put out our initial call on 16. With both of these 2, we then move to a working frequency for the rest of the conversation. These guys can stay on 16. They get priority over every other call that's going on.
The top 2?
The top 2. These 3 are directed at all ships, all stations. The bottom one's directed to a specific station. So if we look up on the board there, up on the board across there, Dave, if you can see that, Wayne's put up for us how to send a Mayday call. So we send a Mayday call. We start off with the spoken word Mayday 3 times. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is the name of your vessel 3 times, or your call sign, or your MMSI number. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Osprey, Osprey, Osprey. That's the distress call. We now immediately follow it with the distress message, where we say Mayday again, the name of our vessel again. We then have the 3 P's. Okay, and the 3 P's are position. Always give your position first. That's the really important one you got to get out there. They want to know where you are. Got to come and help you. Position, problem, people. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Osprey, Osprey, Osprey. Mayday, this is Osprey. I'm 3 miles northwest of Cape Naturalist Lighthouse. My vessel is on fire. I have 4 people on board. I then have the opportunity to put in any other important information. So it might be, we are abandoning the vessel to our life raft. We have activated our EPIRB. Something along those lines. We can put in other important information in that post. And then we finish the whole call with the word mayday. So one last time. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Osprey, Osprey, Osprey. Mayday. This is Osprey. My position is 32 degrees, 15 minutes, 115 degrees, 26 minutes. My vessel is on fire. I have 4 people on board. We're abandoning the vessel to life raft. Mayday. Cool? Okay. Pat, you've sent it. Nothing's happened. What do you do?
Try again.
Good. Wait. 2 minutes. Send it again. Minute. Send it again the first time. Anton, nothing's happened. What do you do?
Send again.
Send it again. Wait 2 minutes. Send it again. Nothing's happened. What now, Liv?
How many times have you done it? 2.
Yep.
1 more time.
We could try our alternate emergency channel. Try it. Yep. We could scan through the frequency, scan through all the channels looking for someone out there.
The boat's on fire. Assume you've got a handheld, because by now you would have left the boat.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends on the situation. All right, let's assume you're out boating and you receive this, it's me. You receive this mayday call. Okay, you've heard it. You've heard the 2-tone alarm and you've gone down to your chart table. You've gone down to your chart table, you've written it down, because you won't remember it. You won't remember latitude and longitude. So you've written it all down. What do you do now?
Swim.
We could.
See how close they are to you.
Yeah, see how close they are? If they're really close.
Could relay the
Then
message to sea rescue.
If they're a long way from us, we could relay the message, yep. But are we the best equipped people to deal with the rescue? No, he is. He's got all the fun toys. Mr. Sea Rescue, he's got all the good gear. We're going to wait and see if they step up first. We're just going to wait a little while. We're going to listen. We've got it written down, it's in front of us. We're just going to give them a minute. Are they going to step up? Because we're not the best suited people for the job, but we're there. No one else has responded. We're stepping up. We have a responsibility to go and help those people. Might be us next time.
Would you start making your way that way, just in case?
You
Or
could,
at
yes,
least
start
you're
making your
already
way that way.
located on the
That would be a
way?
good idea. Yep. We need to let them know. We've got special little words that we use to let them know. Received. I've already received mayday. Osprey, Osprey, Osprey. This is Kumala, Kumala. Received mayday. They go, oh, thank goodness, someone's coming. All right? And then we are proceeding to your position, ETA, such and such and such. This time they're too far away. They're miles away. We've got them on the edge of the range. It's going to take us 10 hours to get there. We're not the best suited for the job. We might be in a sailboat, whatever. It might be in 12-foot tinny, whatever. We're not the best suited person for the job. What can we still do to help?
Relay the message.
We can relay the message. So we know the distance is determined by the height of the antennas. So they might be out there at the end of their range and they've managed to get their radio call this far. We've picked it up. We're not the best suited. Maybe the best thing we can do is leapfrog that message back over here to the Sea Rescue Group, so that they're able to get into their boat that can do. How fast your boat go, Bads?
Well, we never teach people to drive as fast as we can, thank you. But
Okay.
33 knots hours, but they can do up to 52. Something.
That's pretty good. If I'm proceeding at 6 knots in my sailboat, and if I'm tacking, I'm actually getting there at 3 knots. That's pretty good. I think they'll get there a long time before me. So yeah, the best thing we may be able to do is simply to relay it. Now, it's not a difficult thing to do. We just add the words Mayday relay, Mayday relay, Mayday relay. This is Kumala, 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 and then read word for word the Mayday you've written down at your chart table. So Mayday relay, Mayday relay, Mayday relay. This is Kumala, Kumala, Kumala. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Osprey, Osprey, Osprey. Mayday, this is Osprey. I'm 3 miles northwest of Cape Nattrass Lighthouse. My vessel is on fire. I have 4 people on board. I'm abounding to the life raft. Mayday. Exact words you've written down. You're just relaying the message for them. They need to know who you are because we may become the middleman for a while. That may become our job until these guys zoom out there to rescue us.
What happens if there's another person in between you and the sea rescue? Then the call's getting like longer and longer again.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
then it just keeps going.
Yeah, well, let's hope not, but yeah, potentially. If a vessel's operating that far offshore, I'm hoping VHF is not their only method of communicating. Hopefully they've got a HF radio which can travel much further distance. That's the next course you can come and do. We're going to look at VHFs today. And what else have we got on board our boat that's the best thing ever? Our EPIRB. Yep, our EPIRB can send that information much more efficiently than VHF radio. Righty ho, we're nearly there. Okay, it's not a mayday. I've got a hole in my boat, it's sinking, but my bilge pumps are keeping up with it. I'm slowly heading back to shore, but I'm a little bit scared that it might get there. What's that? It's a pan. What's the procedure? Exactly the same, but you just take out mayday, put in pan. Exactly the same thing. 3 P's, who you are, 3 times. Cool. Okay, you're in trouble in your boat and you're going to send the mayday call. Whose authority do you need before you're permitted to send a mayday call from a ship station? The captain, the master of the vessel, okay? Yep, that's the one. Righto, you may be out there and remember I said when I called someone that they became in charge of the message. So Lockie, this is Paul. Lockie's now in charge. He tells me what channel to go to and etc. In a mayday situation or a distress or urgent situation, it's different. The station calling controls the traffic, controls the rest of the call. But you can delegate it, right? You can hand it on to the sea rescue. You might have a bit going on. You can hand on that, delegate it to the rescue authority or something like that. You may hear these words out there. And again, it's all in French. Silence, m'aider. What do you reckon that means? Have a guess. Silence. Guys, there's a mayday going on. Stop talking on the radio. No more talking on the radio. Silence. There's a mayday situation. Silence, mayday. And you might hear this one. Silence fini. Have a guess.
Silence finished.
Silence is finished. You can resume normal radio procedure from now on. Okay. So far so good. VHF radios. We're now going to talk about EPIRBs. We had a little talk about EPIRBs the other day, so it will just be kind of revision for you guys.